Madam Chairwoman, thank you. Senator Savino, thank you as well. Commissioner, good to be with you. I want to just turn your attention to HALT. Obviously, a piece of legislation that had been debated for nearly a decade. We know now that there's no longer debate. It is in fact,
you're unmuted now.
Law. I've been here for 7 years, and you have consistently stated that you cannot nor will you opine publicly on pending pieces of legislation. I'm curious to know, now that this piece of legislation has been enacted, do you believe that the HALT Act will make the prison system safer or more dangerous for both the incarcerated and those that are charged with their care and custody?
Sure. First, let me say, when I don't comment on pending legislation, I'm not trying to be obstructionist. I always try to take whatever the legislature inquires about. I try to be responsive to your questions. But there's a forum to discuss pending legislation, and it's not a public forum, and there may be issues. So we communicate our questions to the Governor's Counsel's office. And let
me just publicly say I meant no disrespect by that.
Sure. So HALT is now the law, and I will be honest, when it was first passed, I had some concerns, but I can tell you that we have marshaled tremendous resources in order for us to implement this law as the legislature intended. I created an executive steering committee, and then I created 4 subcommittees, and they have worked extremely hard to structure an elaborate program to go forward to implement it, from infrastructure to changing our disciplinary guidelines to developing programming for the individuals when they come out of their SHU and their ROUs, and also for movement of incarcerated individuals from the SHUs to the ROUs. So it was a very labor-intensive process. I am very comfortable where we are, that we'll hit the ground running. I believe that we will change behavior for the better, especially when I had heard the program presentation. We're not just providing them out of cell time. Other systems will provide out of cell time, let them play cards. We are really trying to focus on the behavior that got them into segregated confinement to begin with. And I'm confident that we'll be able to make some changes, and ultimately they'll reintegrate into general confinement and not return.
So do you, I'm sorry, Commissioner, do you feel comfortable with its full implementation in the timeline that's been prescribed?
It is an aggressive timeline, but at this point, I am. It's just we work very, very hard, coordinating with a lot of different forces within our agency, coordinating with OCS to do all the infrastructure changes, doing the training for the hearing officers, the memos that went out to the field. I feel very confident. It certainly didn't hurt that the population also continued to decline as well. So that has kind of been the wind at our back somewhat, but we're confident that we can deliver this. I have a breakdown of every facility where the ROUs are taking place, when they'll be ready, and I'm confident we'll hit the ground running.
Commissioner, with respect, with this looming threat of savagery, as you author in your letter, I mean, how can you be so confident that its full implementation will in fact occur, and with all of the violence that we've seen? Do you feel like a tool is being taken away from you?
No, because at the end of the day, our ability to separate is still intact. The theme going forward is separation, not isolation. So we'll continue to separate the troublemakers, and we even put a memo out to the population who may have been under the impression that they can do some act, go into SHU for 15 days, and they'd be back into general population. If that's what they're thinking, they're sadly mistaken, and that's not going to be the case. They'll get out of cell structured programming and treatment, but my number one priority is, when we do this, we're going to keep everybody safe. Other incarcerated individuals, staff, volunteers, whomever, everybody will remain safe. That's my number one priority.
Commissioner, why hasn't the department re-implemented the secure vendor program?
It is something I still intend to pursue and to follow. I'm looking for feedback from my task force on violence. That might give me some recommendations on that. We learned the last time, we've talked to the advocates. We think it's valuable. We think it'll save lives if it ultimately keeps dangerous drugs like fentanyl out of the system and ultimately be safer for everybody. It's a question of timing. I need to be able to do this at a time when there is a lot more steadiness to the system. We have implemented so many programs in the last year. We are still in a state of change with closing facilities and new programs that are coming online. So it's a question of when the timing is appropriate. And I fully intend to pursue that at the appropriate time.
I would just
Thank you. I'm
Thank
sorry, I have to cut you off, Senator Akshar.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
We can follow up with the commissioner later.